Everyone took the schoolgirl's tale of a frightening attack on these streets very seriously. CBC News is no longer identifying her out of concern for her well-being, but here's what she described Friday.
Sadly, someone insulted me by cutting my hijab 2 times.
Media crammed into her school's library to hear from school board officials, police, and her mother.
I came to the school right away. I'm just so happy she's safe.
The story drew international attention and outrage. At a news conference on other matters, the Prime Minister expressed his concerns.
My heart goes out to the young girl who was attacked, seemingly for her religion.
Toronto police called it a hate crime and promised a thorough investigation. But by this morning, detectives had determined the girl's story was just that.
They sat down, they looked at all the evidence they had, and they reached the conclusion that what was said to have happened simply didn't happen.
In a statement today, the Prime Minister's office was thankful and relieved the attack didn't happen, but also appealed for real hate crimes to be taken extremely seriously. That's what Sabrina Ghaffar Siddiqui says she's hoping for. The hate crimes researcher warns against being distracted by this one false case.
Just because this one particular story is not real, it doesn't mean that the other stories are not real. So let's not forget that we need to still work on, anti-Islamophobia and trying to combat anti-Muslim hate.
She also worries about the young girl.
I'm very afraid of the backlash she will receive and the community will receive further, because now people are going to be angry that, she lied.
As for what happens next, police would only say the case is officially closed. Ron Charles, CBC News, Toronto.
You may be wondering, how did an incorrect story get so much uncritical coverage? It's a question many of us were discussing in the newsroom today, and it came down to a couple of things. The disturbing details of the story got our attention, and Toronto police released this information without any suggestion that they weren't confident it was true. Here's a look at how the story developed. The first notice we got of this story was just after 9:30 Friday morning, when Toronto police tweeted out that a young girl had been attacked by a man with scissors.
I believe that the young girl is with officials right now.
Just before 11 o'clock, Toronto police tweeted there were 2 victims, but at 11:03 they issued a correction, stating there was only 1. By now, reporters had gathered at the school, and that prompted the Toronto District School Board to quickly organize a news conference. It started at about 10 to 1. It included the young girl describing what happened.
I felt the man, and I turned around and I saw him with his scissors, and he ran away.
By 1:20, a spokesperson for Toronto police arrived, and at this point, not only was the public being told a young girl had been the victim of what appeared to be a hate crime, but that the suspect was still at large.
It's startling, it's disturbing, it's nerve-wracking. Young kids coming to school shouldn't have to face this.
Next update on this story came 3 days later, this morning, when Toronto police said it had now concluded the incident never happened.
There was the little girl saying what happened to her, there was the little boy who said he saw the whole thing, and then there was the mother who was reacting as well. Who along that line was lying?
I'm not going to go into specifics. What is significant is that when investigators had all the evidence that they'd gathered, they looked at it, they tested it, and they came to the conclusion that the events on Friday simply didn't happen.
Well, very quickly, there was an online backlash against the 11-year-old girl, her family, and the wider Muslim community.
If you look now at the comments some comments are being made out there, people are using this as examples, for instance, of, communities playing the victim card, and I think that's really grossly unfair.
For writer and human rights advocate Amira El-Gawabi, the fact this crime wasn't real is cold comfort.
Hate crimes and hate incidents are a reality for far too many minority communities in this country. Muslim, Black communities, Jewish communities, many communities, unfortunately, are suffering from various types of hate.
In recent years, stats suggest the Muslim community has faced more of it. In 2015, reported hate crimes against Muslims jumped 60%. In 2016, that rate was reduced, but not by much. And early in 2017, one crime that targeted Muslims made headlines worldwide. A shooter who stormed a Quebec City mosque and killed 6 people.
Almost every single day we're seeing some kind of fake news that is stereotyping and marginalizing our communities. And so add this one to that mix of all the types of untrue stories that are out there about our communities. I think people are feeling very beleaguered. We're feeling quite anxious, particularly in the lead up to the anniversary of the terrible tragedy at a Quebec mosque.
Al Gawabi, for one, is bracing for what comes next.